Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Before I get started with today's video, I'd just like to remind everyone, or rather announce to everyone, Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Before I get started with the meat and potatoes of today's video, I just want to announce to everyone that I've started a Discord server at the behest of one of my commenters. He suggested I should make one. So the link will be in the description. Please go and follow it, join the community. You can come and have a chat to me and discuss future ideas for videos, stuff like that. And also, I'm gonna start working, I'm going to cat sit for my parents at home for the next couple of days, so I'll be locked away with my girlfriend and a cat and no friends and no, well, my girlfriend's a friend, but none of my other friends, and not a big fancy computer that will make me procrastinate and just play WoW instead. So I'm gonna get started writing scripts for the Scorecraft series, which, for any of you that don't know, that's a series that is now under a new name, Scorecraft, but it used to be either Lorecraft or OSTs Explored, where I'd go into the music of different video games, most predominantly WoW, and pick apart the sounds tracks for, say, Stormwind or Elwyn Forest and show you how they work. Not too much musicology, it's more like a story time with little bits of music theory sprinkled in there. It's really good fun, and I had good reception to it, so I'm going to relaunch that series very soon. I just thought I'd announce it, and again, Discord link down below. Please come and join me so I feel like I have some friends. So, the main body of this video. How are Blizzard adapting the retail version of the game to more reflect the ethos of design that they had back in Classic, or at least in earlier versions of the game? Well, there's a few ways we can tackle this. Initially, I think the entire vision for the expansion, and recent expansions generally, have been very, very provably, demonstrably, obviously tailored towards appealing to older players. So let's go back to Mr. Pandaria. That was Blizzard trying something really new, really off the wall and different. It's well, shall we say most people didn't like the aesthetic take. They didn't like the panda stuff. I personally didn't. I was basically, I couldn't play WoW during that expansion anyway. I was in a music boarding school. I wouldn't have had the time nor the internet connection to play the game at the time. But even so, I wasn't too upset because the pandas, they really did put me off. In hindsight now, I recognise that Pandaria was actually a really good expansion for raiding, and the questing content was brilliant. So yeah, I'm actually quite annoyed that I missed out on that. But after Mr. Pandaria and the general fall of the user base, people just didn't like it, so WoW subs dropped even further than they'd already been dropping. Blizzard decided, okay, right, we should probably go back to our basics. Let's get the nostalgia thing going, hopefully encourage some people back with that, and they announced Warlords of Draenor, which I remember watching the BlizzCon for that online, and I wasn't hopeful about WoW. I'd not been playing for a couple of years, and I saw Draenor being announced, and I thought, okay, I'm interested, really cool. And by the time Draenor actually did come out, I was broken up with pretty terribly by a girlfriend at the time, and I didn't have any friends after that because she hooked up with my best friend at the time, probably before she broke up with me. So yeah, it was a dark period of my life, and basically I consciously said, okay, well, to not have to deal with these feelings now because they're too painful, I'm just gonna no-life World of Warcraft again for a while, and to be honest, that really did help. Although I'm not advocating that as a solution to all of life's problems, but hey, get help if you need it. That was useful for me. Anyway, so with Warlords of Draenor, they were clearly trying to elicit some kind of nostalgia. Obviously, we were going back to Outland in a way and seeing what it used to be like, and I've actually just been leveling a character through the Draenor content now, and I've got to say, the questing content was wonderful. I really enjoyed Draenor until basically they ran out of content because they axed half of the expansion for no reason. Otherwise, I think it would have been really a top-tier expansion if they'd actually given us a whole expansion. What we did get was really good quality, in my opinion. And because they were appealing to all the old lore things, that was their old concept of why they think Classic was good. I think they thought people wanted Classic and were just nostalgic for the old versions of the game because they knew the stories, they knew the characters more. They weren't as invested in pandas or Deathwing destroying the world. In fact, people really didn't like that because it killed the old world. So I think Blizzard thought by showing us Grom and Duratan and all of these old characters that it would enthuse us again, and that's not really why people were calling for the old versions of the game. People actually like the mechanics of it more. It's the whole game design rather than the game story that people were really hankering for. Obviously, the story of Classic's great, but that's not the main reason people like it. So they didn't quite learn in WoD, so they come up with Legion, and it's like, oh, everyone's a superhero, you know, you got your own, you're the leader of your class hall, you are the priest, you're high priest, you're the Farseer, which, that's a topic for another video. I hate that shit, it really puts me off big time. But they had all of that, and we were gonna go and finally defeat the Burning Legion. Oh, hey, you guys, you're playing in the Burning Crusade? Well, now this time we're definitely going to kill them. They're definitely dying this time, guys. There's no backseas on this, no resurrections. I'm sure there's no resurrections. Sargeras is definitely not going to get out of that prison in a couple of expansions time. Promise, Scout's honor and all of that. So I think they were trying to milk the nostalgia of the story again. But in Battle for Azeroth, they've taken a very different approach. They are, instead of appealing to us on a kind of lore basis in a way, they're going to recreate elements of the previous expansions with mechanics more so. Not completely, but they're going in that direction. However, first off, someone mentioned this to me earlier, and basically with the whole Horde versus Alliance thing, and we're not really sure where the expansion's gonna go. Hint, it might have something to do with tentacles, but that's definitely not confirmed. It's certainly not about N'Zoth. But as far as we really know right now, the expansion is just Horde versus Alliance, Orcs versus Humans, or Undead, I guess now, and just do stuff. We'll show the Gates of Anchorage. Oh, that'll be fun. Or hey, Nax Ramis is a thing. The way Classic worked, it was very sporadic and kind of unannounced, different parts of patch content. You know, you think, oh well, where's the main thread? There's no big bad, is my point. There's no big bad in Battle for Azeroth, which I think is a little bit of an homage to Classic, where the content was mostly just focused on stuff happening in these zones that you were questing in, you know, regional troubles, plus we hate the Horde or we hate the Alliance, and then maybe a big bad in the form of Kel'Thuzad comes at the end of the expansion, or with N'Zoth. So I think there is a definite inspiration. They're trying to conjure up the feeling of Classic, which I actually applaud them for. It's a clever way of doing it, and I think it very well might turn out, you know, pretty good. I'm actually looking forward to BFA because I love Old God content. I'm really annoyed I never got to raid Ulduar. I just like the aesthetic much more than I like the demon thing. I've always got quite a passionate, you know, love for Lovecraftian things. I really like that stuff, so I'm excited for that. But the more important side of this all is the mechanics changing to slightly more reflect how classic versions of the game work. So the first evidence of this, I'd say, was the global cooldown debacle, shall we say. The shit show that was the global cooldown changes. Basically, by putting many more abilities on the global cooldown, they made the game, or they will make the game, feel a lot more like Classic, a lot more slower paced, because the current version of the game, Retail, feels more like an action RPG. It's just stuff going off everywhere, you're slamming your keyboard, you're spamming. It's very different style of gameplay, because I confess I've actually been playing majority vanilla for the last couple of years. I've played a lot of Retail too, but I, in Nostaria's, got a character to 60, I had a great time with it, and I've played some Light's Hope since, and I might get back into it again with the launch of the new server. Hit me up in the Discord if you want to get a guild together, I suppose. And I wasn't really going to notice the difference, to be honest, with the global cooldown change. I just noticed a spider crawling up my bag there, so that's why I got distracted. A big spider. So with the global cooldown changes, it doesn't bother me because I'm used to that slow pace of combat with vanilla, and I quite like it. I don't really care for the frenetic, you know, press all the buttons at once kind of gameplay, which I know some people do. That's fair enough. So they're definitely going to a more vanilla pace of combat. For that, and also the recently announced changes to tank threat is going towards that direction as well. With both of these changes, they're not the whole way there. Classic is definitely even slower than BFA will be, and tanks definitely are just worse than they will be in BFA, because it felt like basically in Retail, tanks do about 10 times or 14 times more threat per DPS than DPS do. And in BFA, they're going to be doing 4 times more. Whereas in Skittish affixes and Mythic Plus, I think it's what, 3.5 times more threat than the DPS? So, or is it 2.5? Something like that. basically the tanks will do a lot less threat in BFA, but still not as little as they did in vanilla. So it's going in that direction, but it's not quite there yet. It's probably not going to have a massive effect on normal play, but up in the higher Mythic Plus keys, it's going to be pretty entertaining to watch. I'm sure the tanks are just going to be useless. It's going to be interesting to see how they manage that, especially, you know, with skittish affixes on the reduced threat generation. It's probably going to be mad stuff, and it's going to definitely get rid of the whole pull everything, spam AoE, which, oh, my light went off. That's sad. One sec, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. My light is now plugged in at the wall. That was annoying to suddenly go dark in the middle of a recording, but I'm sticking with it. We'll carry on the end of this video. So I was talking about the skittish affixes in Mythic Plus and generally the style of play of Mythic Plus being pull the whole room, pull the whole dungeon, and AoE everything down. That's boring to me. I quite like the old school vanilla dungeon crawling thing of taking about 5 days to get through Black Fathom Deeps or whatever it might be, everyone pulling really slowly and dying all the time. It sounds boring when I put it like that, but honestly, I like the grind, it's good. I like feeling like you're exploring a dungeon rather than racing. I don't like the counting down of a clock. However, I understand that's a cool esports type thing and it's working really well and it is a good format, but I just prefer the old dungeoneering system. So in conclusion, I think Blizzard are taking inspiration from some of the mechanics of the older content now, as opposed to in WoD and Legion, taking inspiration from the story, you know, trying to, oh, remember Illidan? You like Illidan, right? Oh, come play with Illidan. Oh, come back to the game. Whereas that wasn't really why people like these old versions of the game. They like the mechanics. It's not rose-tinted goggles. Give me Guild Wars or something like that, but with the mechanics of vanilla WoW, and it'll be good. It doesn't matter what coats of paint you put over those mechanics, they are what work, and that's why some people don't like the retail version of the game. It's because they've strayed so far away from, you know, the core mechanics of an MMO and made it more like an action RPG instead. So it's nice to see that they've kind of cottoned on to that. It's what these changes suggest to me, is that they think, okay, it's actually about the mechanics. Now we talked with the Nostalrius team, I see that there are some merits to this, the way we used to do it. You know, we've got a completely different team now that thinks very differently, but maybe we should take some inspiration from the old versions of the game, which actually is great, because I've been pretty vocal in my support for Classic, obviously, and my suspicion that when Classic comes out, and I'm not alone in thinking this, I saw the Nixium interview with Tips out recently, and they believe this as well. They think, as well as I do, that when Classic comes out, it might not do super well to begin with, but pretty soon, people are going to realize what they were missing out on. People are going to go back to Classic and think, actually, this is much more rewarding. I'm going to stick with this. And Blizzard, you know, retail Blizzard are going to notice that, and they're going to change the retail version of the game to reflect that style of play, probably. They might just have completely different design ethoses going on, which is good because it'll service many more different types of players, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of this tendency from retail to start adopting classically inspired game mechanics, and I am 3000% in favor of that. That's going to be wonderful, because I really like retail. I like the graphics, I like the stories generally speaking, and if they, well, basically I would love Classic WoW to continue having expansions for it that are new content. But I understand people that want to keep Classic as Classic and don't want to change it and don't want to nullify the grandeur of Naxx loot. So having retail fill that prophecy anyway, take the mechanics that we love and just advance the story and give us more variety of things to do after a while, because Naxx is going to get stale one day. I'm all for that. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys say in the comments below, and please do follow me on Discord. I've got my Twitch TV linked down there as well to give me a follow for when I go live. I still need to get a webcam, but I'm really looking forward to going live very soon. Please watch my last video about my update if you're interested in my life at all. I've just graduated from uni, and so I'm going to have a lot more time to do streaming and to do this kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you all. Any suggestions for topics for like a Lorecraft or a Scorecraft series? Because Lorecraft, I think I'll be doing discussions on Warcraft lore or story time, that kind of thing, and Scorecraft will be looking at music from games, specifically mostly World of Warcraft, and in the old style of my Lorecraft videos. So anyway, I'll see you in the comment section down below, guys. I'm gonna go climbing, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay chin.